Hey, Renee.
Hi, Annette.
Well, I just got another text message from somebody, which I'm bringing up right now because I think it's always worth it when it's something that's happened more than once with me, the responses I get from different people. And this one was this person just really was in a spot right now where they were overwhelmed, where they just felt like they were drowning with the pressures of life. And as an adult and raising kids, we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Even without having children, you
was
could
just gonna say
feel
that.
overwhelmed. So let's just throw that out. You could feel very overwhelmed and that the world is just coming down on you. And you want to swim and stay above water, but you're feeling like you're drowning. In fact, this person said they just feel like they're drowning, but they're up for a while and then it's just the day's
Hits
just
them
not
again.
going well for them. And as I was chatting with them, of course, I mentioned, have you talked to God about it? Yes, I've given it to God, but I still feel like this weight is pushing me under. I'm not able to stay above water well. And it's causing me to cry right now quite a bit. And I just want to snap out of it and move on. And don't we all just want to snap out
I
of
was
it?
gonna say it'd be nice if we could just
Snap
done.
out of it.
I'm sorry your
Basically,
friend's
since
going through that though.
I know, and we know the pain of it. I don't know the pain that she's going through precisely, but we do know the pain and the emotional struggle there is with feeling like you're drowning.
Yeah.
And in that, you do want to be reminded, yes, have I checked with God? Because sometimes you're struggling so much, you're forgetting to reach out. Oh,
Yeah.
God, help me type
Because the
situation.
circumstances can feel so big, and circumstances can be more than just the feeling, but literally can be big circumstances that make
Yes.
you feel like you are drowning for sure.
As well as being practical in a sense. I am sure you've seen a child feel overwhelmed. You have young grandchildren. I do too. And everything could be fine, but you start adding up things, as in the one granddaughter I have didn't sleep good the night before, had been sick maybe 2 days before that, is feeling so much better, but is lacking sleep as it's going on. And she's growing a lot right now. Put all those things together and she might just be fine coming over to play, and then some block won't fit in the hole that it's supposed to, and tears just break out in frustration. She didn't get hurt physically. She is just feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking to this person, she has children as well, and I knew her children, and I said, what would you do for your son right now if he was in that overwhelmed mode like you are right now? And as soon as I asked her that, it was like snap, how we wanted, right? It changed her thinking to try to be more productive. What would I tell them? How would I handle them? Would I be, I know this person, and in the beginning I said, what seems so overwhelming? And she mentioned all these things, and it was like, well, then just dump that for the day. I can't. No, dump that off for the day. I can't. But when I changed it to her son, I know she would have said, I'll take that off of him. I'll take that off of him. I know she would be so much more loving to her son than she was towards herself, because I know we could be so hard personally on ourselves, going, no, I have to get this done. You know, there's a lot of things that we don't have to do, Renee. And when we ask God for help,
you talking to me?
don't you try to get out of the picture frame. When we ask God for help, sometimes we don't want to hear the answer if he says, don't go here today and don't go that after all. This is not a good day for you. If he was talking to my granddaughter, we'd go, you need a nap. Lay down next to your grandma and she'll read you a book. Just stop playing altogether. Her motor skills were off. She was not going to win at anything she did. She would end up in tears. She needed to stop doing everything and just relax and not have this pressure to go anywhere, perform, to be nice to somebody new. None of that. And that's what this person who was texting me needed, all those things lifted off. And I believe God would have tried to take those things off for her. But sometimes we got to be responsible. We got to be the one.
Yeah.
And I thank God that we have that in us as well. But when we're overwhelmed, our bodies are shouting to us, stop, pay attention.
Yeah. I relate. I can
You relate?
I can relate. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a memory of a meltdown that you could share? If not, it's okay. I'm just bringing it up.
Of a meltdown?
I'll bring up one. I'll bring up
Okay.
one and then see if it triggers something for you.
Okay.
I was 9 months pregnant.
Mm.
Okay. And we lived in this home. And I guess my worst fear in my mind, don't even ask, was a mouse in the house. And we'd never had a mouse in the house. But somehow, after watching the Ratatouille movie, the kids cartoon type thing,
Yeah.
you know how you unscrew a bottle top to a bottle of water?
Yeah.
Well, it fell and it rolled across the kitchen floor, and I was in the kitchen. Nothing in my mind at 9 months pregnant, tired, worn out, getting ready to have a baby any day. All right. That bottle rolled across the floor and I thought mouse.
Oh.
Okay. And when I went, and backed up off of the thing. And one of my daughters went up to it and go, Mom, it was just, I dropped the little cap to the drink type thing. And when I realized, put 1 + 1 together was 2, it was the little screw top for the bottle of water. I lost it. I started crying like there was no tomorrow.
You're not a crier.
I am not a crier, but my emotion, I didn't even know my emotions could be there. And they were so there. My daughter, it's just, and she showed me screw on cap, and John goes, yeah, that's what it is. Look, because he could see my eyes puddling up. And I said, okay. And I walked down the hall, and because I need to get away from everybody. And my husband follows me in the room, and he sees that I'm crying. He goes, it was just a bottle cap. And I said, I know. And I have no idea why I'm crying so hard right now. But the thought of me, and then all of a sudden I was answering why I was crying. I'm going to have a baby any day now. And we might have had a mouse in the house, which carries disease, all those. I'm trying to be a good mom. And I had lost it. I completely lost it. And there was nothing really John could do except just hug me and say, it's going to be all right. And I said, I feel like such a jerk. And he goes, maybe you just needed a really good cry. And I said, maybe I did. But that was a meltdown moment. There was nobody was going to be able to stop the waterworks from pouring out of me that day. When that cap went across the floor, I thought the worst of the world. And of course, that's not the worst in the world to have a mouse in your house. But for some reason, it just took me over the edge.
I'm now recalling when I was overwhelmed with, we just moved to the state. I'm, just diagnosed ill. All these bigs were happening in my life and wasn't sure where to go and wasn't sure that my friends would even understand. Even you, Annette, I wasn't telling you all of the emotions going on. And there was a community center down the street and different churches. And I just kept wondering, who can I talk to? I just need to talk to somebody just to help give me direction and just whatever. So I remember walking to a community center because it was for disabled and for vets. and I was on the disabled line of it. So I thought, well, maybe they'll listen. Maybe they can give me direction on resources and stuff like that. And it was so good. I don't know how to explain it. It was so good to just talk to a stranger that day. I still remember her name was Janelle, and I don't even remember what her position was there, but she listened. She just said, you look like you could chat. And I go, I really could chat with somebody, not just find this resource. And she sat down and she just listened to my story of that moment. And I cried, and she listened, and there was healing that just came out of that, healing that just came out of that. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity that I had that day, and grateful for the kindness that I got out of her as well, So I guess with all that, I'm saying it does take courage to talk to somebody else. It does take courage to admit when you're feeling overwhelmed, because I'll be honest, in previous rounds of friends, different churches I've attended to, it was, you had to be fine. You had to look like you were put together. You're a leader, so why would you be falling apart? Those kind of things.
Because we're a human being.
Yeah, but some groups of people that you're with, sometimes you feel like this pressure that you have to be put together, that there shouldn't be problems in your home, that you shouldn't be having financial strain, you shouldn't be having, all these issues, you should have more faith, blah, 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 all these shoulds. And so it can be difficult to even share with those folks, because you feel like you're a failure. But when you find that trusted friend, or even that stranger, like you were saying, through a professional, or even through a community group, there is just a relief that can come just speaking it out. And then you get that direction, and you get your feet back in the right spot again, instead of feeling like you're on rocky ground, you kind of get more on that solid ground. And God also in it can help move you forward in the right direction as well.
Okay, so we brought all this up because we do know beyond that being pregnant thing. I remember, especially during my teenage years, feeling like I was drowning with a lot of emotional stuff and anxiety from the sexual abuse we had type thing. And so that's why I could relate to this person who I was talking through a text. But I also want to bring up that there are people you can talk to. I'm so glad that this person texted me today, so I could go ahead and pray for them, as well as, it wasn't my idea. I really felt like it was a Holy Spirit idea. How would you treat your son right now if he was feeling like he was drowning? He even told you he feels like he was drowning. You could start pulling stuff off the top of him so he wouldn't sink so low, of course. There's ways of doing that. And one of the ways is talking to a friend, like you and I talk to each other, calling a friend, as well as going to a counselor, as well as going to a psychiatrist. There's also support groups. Now, I do know that people, and there's even hotlines you can call. So for sure, don't want to rule those out.
Right.
I know there are so many people that feel like, I can't, especially if it's sexual abuse, share that with anybody yet. It's just now starting to come back to my memory, or I think I'm ready to talk to somebody, but I don't want the world to know. And they have a really good point, Renee, because in America here, at least I know for America, that's it. We don't hold what I would call confidentiality well. I even looked at surveys on it, and only 33% of the people will keep something confident.
Wow.
Otherwise, they share it with their mate or somebody else that they know. And so 33% isn't even 50%.
Yeah. Wow.
So if you do have that kind of concern, it is at least acknowledged. However, if you do go to a professional counselor, psychiatrist, the great part about that is they're being paid to keep your confidentiality, and by law they have to.
They've sworn an oath that they have to be confidential, and it's law.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you haven't built up that trust yet in a relationship, make sure you reach out to somebody else.
Yeah.
whether you're calling an anonymous hotline, whatever it is. Renee and I have the experience that the first time telling somebody is the hardest.
It is. Yeah.
And after that, it's still hard, but it gets easier.
Yeah. Yeah. They have, like, I remember a friend not calling the police, but doing it was like a agency against violence. You know, there's like women's networks and
Yes,
things like
there's
that. So
national sexual assault hotlines. There's all sorts of hotlines out there.
and then they can advise you on other steps to move forward if you needed to move forward on something, but just to have somebody listen.
Yes.
And you not necessarily have somebody that's in your sphere of influence that you want to share it with. There are resources to do that. But definitely talking with somebody, it does make a difference, I will say.
It does. Especially if you get with somebody who's going to pray with you on this.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Or can just listen. It's a good gift to have somebody that can just listen, and that can even bring up, like you did for this gal, of, well, how would you do it for your son? Because sometimes it's ourselves, we're the hardest one to be kind to. We can give the advice to others and we can help others, but to help ourselves sometimes is the hardest person to help.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for discussing it, Renee.
No problem.
All right. Bye-bye.